Hey everyone, before I get started, I just want to remind you that if you like my content, hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, and then join the Militiaman and Crew Patreon community by clicking the link in the caption. Hey, good evening everybody. This is Militiaman. It's Friday, kind of a fast and furious day for me. Hopefully you guys have a great day too. Hey, there's been a really good article out that came out yesterday, and it was from the decision makers who had authority to talk about things. And one gentleman's name was Bassam Al-Awadi, and his colleague was Horaz Colby. They got together and had an interview, and it was quite long and lengthy. We have the transcript of it or an article on it in Patreon with Militiaman and Crew. So if you want to take a look at that, that'd be great. We'd love to have you as a patron and or our YouTube channel. Come over and see us because it's going to be out later on. But the first things first is that these guys got to talking about the budget. Okay, they said that regarding the budget, they pointed out that the preparation for the 2023 budget is done. They say that's what they said, it's been completed. And then they also take note that the government returned the budget to the finance ministry in order for them to adapt it to a new exchange rate. Now, our view is that the 1310 is something in the past. We believe that there's going to be a different change coming because it just has never been out in the world at what the official rate. Some like to say that there's a program rate, but technically there's always been an official rate. But at this time, we're going to just keep moving forward and have a look at what these guys have to say about it. It says there's a question mark here, and that tells me that the guy that says, has the draft budget law been prepared and when will it be sent to the parliament? Well, Awadi, he says, in fact, I like that part. He says, in fact, the preparation of the draft budget has been completed. The budget numbers that are adjusted in terms of the state's financial income. Well, they've adjusted it to the state's financial income. Well, since the past, it was all based off of oil revenue. They have many income streams. And so now that leads me to believe that what they're talking about is that they're going to base their value off these income streams, as well as in terms of the dollar's exchange rate. So we talked about a couple, I don't know, this last week or even since back in November, there's a new Ministerial Council of Economics that's come to town. And these guys have had their 6th session. So when you read the article, when you think about it, they're talking about the 6th session, they're talking about the MCOE. They're not talking about the Council of Ministers or the Parliament. They're talking about a huge group of people. And I suggest if you haven't already done so, in the articles that I've put out, you'll see that there is a block of names, and there's a lot. So that's important because at the end of the day, it's the legal authority are in those meetings. So in the 6th session, the budget was transferred to the Ministry of Finance in order for it to be readjusted to the new exchange rate. And the issue does not take much time, and it has been at least 2 weeks now. Yeah, and all they're waiting for within a short period is the Ministry of Finance to present it to the in its new image to the Council of Ministers. So it's a phenomenal situation that we're in. These guys have effectively are talking about a new exchange rate. The issue doesn't take much time, and it's already been a couple of weeks. So within a short period of time, the Ministry of Finance will present it again to the Council of Ministers. So I think the Ministry of Finance, remember that the MCOE, the Ministry of Finance is within that realm, okay? Another thing that's interesting here too is that the Kurds were in town, and they're a big part of this, and they had a hand in this curriculum that they're offering out. So they needed to know themselves, what's our fair share, and they, I guess, have agreed on that share. We've heard from 14% to 17%, but I believe they don't tell us in this today, but they do tell us that they have an agreement. It says, we will wait for the budget to be approved in the beginning, and when it is transferred to the Iraqi parliament, there will be a first and second reading. We all know that. That's pretty much normal legal stuff. The law will be presented to the media and the public. So they're going to do something, and they're going to present it to everybody. At the present 1310 with the CBI, I'm not sure that the citizens are going to be too happy about that. So another sidebar is that the expectation for tomorrow was to have some demonstrations that Al Sadr talked about. And we saw also that probably is not going to be the case, because things would likely be, they may not be needed to have that. So ultimately, the anticipation of the formulating of the government curriculum is also part of the Iraqi government and all its aspects, the Iraqi state, all of the rights of the region, and will certainly be approved and ready to be approved with the general budget of 2023. So the Kurds and Baghdad are going to be all a part of this whole process. They're not isolated. They are an integral part of the whole picture. Baghdad, Erbil, all of Iraq, and so everybody needs to be a part of that. And that's what Awadi has been talking about today or yesterday. But here's this paragraph here is really fascinating, because I think it really does put a big square around things, so you can we should pay attention to it. It says the budget was proposed and submitted to the Council of Ministers, and it was discussed in the sessions that preceded the sixth session. I talked about that. That's the sixth session of the Ministerial Council of Ministers. Those guys are the new guys. They actually precede the Council of Ministers from what we can see. It says the difference in the exchange rate is what delayed it reading it until this moment. So they had to, sounds like they made another change to the exchange rate, because all that stuff was done prior to 1310, okay? So now that they're here at this stage of the game, they have to take a new exchange rate and adjust it. It says it's also a part of the Iraqi government, and therefore it is present in all aspects of the state. Okay, so we came back to that. But it was returned to the finance ministry in order to adopt or adapt to fix the numbers on the new exchange rate. This is the reason there is no disagreement about the share of the Kurdistan region and the rights of the region, which is the integral part of Iraq, okay? The next thing I wanted to talk about was this whole agreement is binding. Okay, that means that everybody has to do it. Another thing is that when they talk about agreement, it is the top of the food chain. When they talk about memorandums of understanding or the SINO, not the SINO agreement, because that's not what it is, cooperation, coordination, those types of words, okay, those aren't serious as an agreement. And that's what we have here is an agreement. And when they have an agreement, the reason why they really probably have a really good agreement is because the oil and gas law, that is really big, because it used to be all about oil. It's not only about oil anymore, it's about gas, and they got a lot of it. Basically, what they're saying is that they've been firing gas to the tune of about $8 to $10 billion worth of gas just being burned in the sky. That's it. Boom. That much money. And so obviously those billions will be returned to the budget when they start extracting the gas. And when it returns to the Iraqi budget, it will be a share for everybody. All the citizens are going to get a share of that pie. Oil and gas. That's why the Kurds are probably coming to town or have been in town and are probably likely to have a shoulder to shoulder here shortly. That's what we expect anyway. The last of that part of it is that there will be an implementation of all the paragraphs that we've agreed upon. In other words, that's done. That's what I'm seeing right now. There's more. Here's a question that says, will the dinar regain its value against the dollar after the visit of an Iraqi delegation to Washington headed by Fawad Hussein? And Bassam al-Awadi, what is his answer? First word, absolutely. The measures were taken before the delegation's visit, and there are new discussions, or decisions, I should say, issued by the central bank. We started this off about who's in the authority. Central bank's an authority to talk about the exchange rate. The government is the authority to talk about the program, the rollout, the process. That's Al-Sudani. Those are the people that have that ability to talk about these things. This spokesman for the government is doing exactly that. It is important issues discussed for the exchange rate, and they were, in order to solve the exchange rate crisis. This says they are dealing with an exchange rate crisis only as there is an agreement to change the nature of the Iraqi trade and the system of dealing with the central bank. This process constitutes a shift. Well, a shift with trade and all these different things tells us what? That they're doing something completely different. This new electronic platform is going to be all components. It's going to be the banking, it's going to be the government, and then it's going to come down to the citizens. That's what's going to happen. You've talked about the electronic cards for the citizens. We're talking about electronic platforms for the government, electronic platforms for the banking system. So here we have everything's been done. The process constitutes a shift. That's their quote. It says that they started doing this back in 2003 and up to 2023. So it's been 20 years that they've had this process going, and now they're finally getting to that change. If we can't see it now, we probably never will. But at this stage of the game, I'm a believer that they are telling us, and they did tell us, that there's no going back. This process is underway. It says that there are new laws, a platform for follow-up, new decisions, and a large international follow-up for hard currency and how it enters and exits Iraq. And the Iraqi government is serious and determined to take a new approach and a system that keeps Iraq and its economy, trade away from pressures, foreign affairs, and protects the Iraqi currency. Again, all these methods are applied that revive life again. That's talking about reviving life. That's their currency. In my view, it's their economy. These guys are going to an international system, and there's no going back, or they're not going back. Did the Iraqi delegation succeed in solving the dollars problem? The guy says, I say yes. He says the delegation succeeded, and as I said, the issue is not a push of a button. Everybody says, well, push the button, push the button. Well, this guy says we've been at this for 20 years. So it's been a complex process. It isn't all just about push the button. But I say, anyway, let's go, push the button. So let's go. What's the next thing? This is, we do not want to underestimate the value of the crisis, nor do we want to exaggerate its value. Wait a sec. I missed this. Underestimate the value of the crisis, and we do not want to exaggerate its value. Well, when we're talking about value, we're talking about things that are determined from what? Income streams beget value. So keep that in the back, and assets create value. And so they don't want to underestimate the value, and they don't want to overestimate the value. They want it right in line with what is fair or real, okay? A real effective exchange rate is on the table. It says these are procedures and agreements, and the procedures included various aspects: commercial, investment, and financial. There are even security measures and negotiating, delegation, diplomacy, decisions again, and linking this issue to politics, and all of that has been covered in the current stage. So they basically said that we've done all this and it's all been covered. So I hope you guys, feel like I do. Should be excited. It's a Friday going into a weekend. Let's see what they tell us from here on out. So please join. Once again, guys, don't forget to hit that like button if you like this content. Subscribe to the channel, or join us at the Militia Man and Crew Patreon community for even more exclusive content. You can also donate to this channel by hitting the links in the banner to help keep this page up and running. Your generous support is greatly appreciated, as always. Much, much appreciated. Thank you so much, and have a great day.